Hey guys, that was kind of interesting, I guess. This time last year, I made a video and I said, hey, I realize it's almost impossible for somebody to talk about having a good day of shooting without sounding like they're bragging. And I said that the day after I won my Pool Hall's local, annual 8-ball tournament. I had a good day shooting and I won it. I'm like, man, it's going to sound like I'm bragging. So I don't have to worry about this year. But this year I'm like, it's almost impossible for somebody to talk about a bad day of shooting without sounding like they're just making up excuses. Well, I did have a pretty bad day of shooting, and I did not do very well in the tournament. But what I try to come up with all the time is not excuses, but reasons that I didn't do as well as I'd hoped. I went in this year way better prepared to play 8-ball than I did last year. Didn't really do me any good. Well, in this tournament, I won a match, and then I lost 2 in a row. So, all right, that was fun. And it was fun. It always is fun. I did lose to people that shot better than me, but I wasn't shooting particularly well, so it wasn't a very high bar, I guess I should say. Now, the guy that beat me in my second round match, he probably won the tournament. He won the hot seat match, and he probably ended up winning the tournament. He was shooting better than anyone else in the field. But that's the way it is. So what I try to do is like, okay, what the hell happened, Dave? You went in there, you've been practicing 8-ball for 2 months and being all prepared and all this and that, and you went in there. I didn't quite stink up the place, but neither did I shoot like a returning defending champion should have done. And I can narrow it down to a couple of main things. Last year my concentration was absolutely fantastic through almost the whole tournament, especially towards the end. Last night it wasn't horrible, but I felt like I've talked about it in a video before, having a give a shit factor, and I didn't feel like my give a shit factor was where it really should have been. I was concentrating and doing a fairly good job of staying focused, considering the crowd that was in this place. But I found myself not, I guess I didn't care as much about if the ball went in or if I got shaped as I should have, and as I would have needed to have played well. So that was one thing. The other thing is, I mentioned last year that my 8-ball breaks were absolutely fantastic. Last year I went undefeated in the tournament. I broke a lot, never scratched once, and made a ball and break every time. Had a lot of breaking runs in this tournament. Yesterday, of course I didn't go as far, so I didn't break as much. But I never made a ball and break except one time, and the one time I made a ball and break, I also made the cue ball on the break, and the guy ran out. That was my second round match. So, my third round match, I wanted to get on the hill, and I broke dry, and my opponent ran out. Not a whole lot I could do about it except make a ball and break, which I didn't do. It was too late. So, obviously I would have liked to have done much better than I did, but mostly I would have liked to have shot better than I did. I think I mentioned that last year, this tournament was played on 4x8 tables. This is a 4.5 by 9. That's what I usually play on, 4.5 by 9. This is played on 4x8s. And last year, I seemed to overroll my shape. I don't think it was because the table was fast. The tables had just been recovered maybe a week or two earlier. But I don't think that was the reason that I was over-rolling my shape. Last year, I think I was over-rolling my shape just because of the extra, length that I'm more used to. I'm more used to the cue ball bounces like this, it's going to stop there. But on a 4x8, it's going to stop here. I'm sure that makes sense. My old thing is getting used to different equipment. And that was my biggest downfall yesterday. Absolutely my biggest downfall. But what was weird, I noticed this. Watching matches, I noticed this talking to other people, and everybody noticed the same thing. What was happening was, and this doesn't make a whole lot of sense, but the cue ball, we all play pool, we all kind of know what we're doing, and we know how far is that cue ball going to roll. But that's not where it stopped. Yesterday, it would roll an extra 1.5 feet, almost every time. So many people are playing, they're trying to, I don't know, I'm bad at examples if I've never mentioned that. Shoot the 14 and just drift over for the 12. And the ball would go to about here. That's not really super good shape on the 12. This was happening to everyone. Just about any time somebody needed shape to get close to a ball, so let's call it like that, they would roll up and freeze to it or do something goofy. This was happening to everyone, and we couldn't really figure it out because, on a normal fast cloth table, you kind of get a feel pretty quickly. Oh man, that ball's moving too fast. It's not going to stop in time. But what was happening to us yesterday was we didn't ever think that. We thought, yeah, that speed looks pretty freaking perfect, but then the ball would roll an extra 1.5 feet. And they just kept doing it. And it was really just the cue balls is what we were noticing. Don't know what the cause was or anything, but it wasn't just, my crazy imagination trying to make up excuses. What happened to me in my matches was the cue ball kept going too far. I kept having tough shot after tough shot after tough shot. And, the match that I won, I guess it lasted long enough. I made enough tough shots to win that match. The matches that I lost, I'd shoot tough shot after tough shot, and eventually I'd run out and I'd get something that I couldn't make, or that I didn't make, and my opponents would have a wide open table, and they would go out. So it was weird, and I hope I never encounter that again, where the ball looks like it's going the correct speed, but then just keeps rolling. Okay, now, see how that cue ball just slowed down? It started slowing down about right here. And you're like, okay, that's probably where it's going to stop. But yesterday, this cue ball was going to keep rolling and going there. It was going to do it. It was going to have the distance to do it. The guy that I believe is going to win the tournament, he adjusted to that pretty darn quickly. And while I didn't talk to him, he was too busy, still playing in the tournament. His angles were just good enough that he could shoot the balls firmly. He could shoot this 14 firmly, and you got to make it, David. It was a bad example anyway. So let's say he can shoot the 3 firmly because he's got a nice flat angle, and then shoot the 7. Whereas a lot of us, me included, wouldn't quite get that perfect angle. And we'd shoot it. We know if we shot it firmly, the freaking ball's going to come over here, which we don't want. So what I was doing was I would end up trying to hit the ball more softly. And a lot of times, that ball wasn't going to stop right there. The ball was going to come over here. It was going to do it. Maybe not a scratch, or maybe a scratch. It got to me, and I think it got to some of the other really good players. You know, after they were out, and I was talking to them, and everybody noticed it, was that we got timid because we were afraid to turn that cue ball loose at all. We were afraid to let it move at all because we didn't think it was going to stop in time. And we didn't think it was going to stop in time because it almost never did. It kept just giving us tough shot after tough shot after tough shot. As I said, the guy that I'm pretty sure is going to win the tournament, or won the tournament, better be over with by now. It's 20 to 11 Monday morning right now. He adjusted very quickly, and I think that what he ended up doing, or he might have lucked into it, I don't think so, he's a really good player, is he got flat enough angles that he could still shoot shots firmly and not have to worry about the cue ball going insane. Whereas me and a lot of the other people, we were used to cue balls not being insane, and so we could get a little bit of an angle. You know, if I had this right here, let's say this ball's gone, and I wanted to shoot to 12 and then shoot to 13 and shoot the pocket. Now, it's not bad examples. Did I ever mention that? Anyway, in there, the cue ball wasn't going to come up here like I was just planning. It was going to come, you know, maybe about here, which is not as easy of a shot as up there would have been. And what happened to me was I would have enough of these or these, and eventually, you know, I pressed my luck too far. I made too many trick shots in a row, or too many tough shots in a row, and eventually I would miss one, and my opponent would go, "Thanks, Dave." And that's what happened. So I'm not the defending champion of this tournament, which is, you know, perfectly fine and predictable, because there are some good. This year's field was stronger than last year's field. There were fewer people, but you know, me watching and, you know, knowing some of the people that were in it, you know, there was another past champion in it, whereas last year there was not another past champion in it. The guy that takes second place every time he feels like playing, he was in it, and some other really good players. I think the guy that's going to win the tournament, or that won the tournament, one of the favorites. You know, even just walking in the door, he was shooting really, really well yesterday. But even just walking in the door, you go, okay, yeah, that's one of the favorites. It was a stronger field, a smaller field, slightly smaller, like 26 people or something like that. And so I don't get to be a repeat champion. And maybe next year I can become a two-time champion. But, you know, as I said last year, the nice thing about it being the Monday after this tournament is now I don't have to play 8-ball again for another year, and I won't. Well, at least not, I won't play 8-ball until after Derby, because now I got to start working on my bank shots again and my one pocket again, because those are the games I play at Derby City. And I guess that's it. I hope nobody. Well, I feel bad. I sold in the Calcutta. Another guy bought me in the Calcutta, and I bought half myself. But still, you know, I don't want to say he wasted his money. He was taking a chance on me, and I didn't do particularly well. And it's one of the reasons that I always try to buy myself in a Calcutta. It's not because I'm like, you know, so egotistical and all that, and by God, I'm going to win. And I'm not like that. I feel bad that this guy spent money on me, and I let him down. One of the reasons, you know, especially back in the old days when I was gambling a lot, people would want to back me in like some big, huge, giant match. And I would be like, no, I'm just not comfortable with that. And it wasn't, that I can't get fired up on somebody else's money or whatever, or that I get super lazy on somebody else's money because it's not my money. It's that I don't want to let anybody else down. I don't like doing that. I didn't like letting this guy down yesterday, and I apologized to the dude. Sorry. It happens to everybody, and this time it happened to me. Just to not have a good day, and of course he understood. He wasn't mad about it or anything, at least not to my face. I guess that's it. I need to get back to practicing. I guess practicing some other games. One thing that's interesting is I had more people talk to me about my Tascarella in 2 months than ever talked to me about my Southwest. Maybe it's more recognizable as a kind of a fancy cue than the Southwest. There are an awful lot of Southwest clones out there, so maybe a lot of people just go out, probably a Southwest clone, Kmart special, just happens to look like a Southwest or something. But just about every place I go nowadays, people are like, man, can I look at your queue? What kind of queue is that? Can I look at it? And it happened 4 times yesterday. What is that? What a Tascarella? Oh yeah, I thought that was a Tascarella. That's nice. Can I see that? Pretty cool, man. Just a little bit of an ego boost, which I certainly needed after getting my butt kicked in the tournament. So, it was all right. Talk to you guys later.